we are going to record this, so if anyone wants to be able to have access to this again afterwards, it will be available. But yeah, so first off, thank you. Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're taking the time to be here at our PJ Library Sundays, S'mores, and Self-Care event. Thank you to our amazing PJ Library parent leaders who planned all this, Wendy and Laura and Abby. I know it's something that's been on a lot of our minds. So yeah, one quick thing I kind of wanted to say as we're heading into the session, I wanted to kind of help set the space, and maybe Jillian may touch on this a little bit, that as you're making the time to be here, like kind of explore for yourself, why are you here? Who is this for in your life? And what is this for? Is this to create space for you? Is this to create mindfulness for you and peace inside of you? Who is this for? Maybe it's for your children. Just want to help kind of ground us in this space. So give yourself a few seconds, think about it. If you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, like, who is this for? Or why are you here? We'd love to see it in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's totally fine. Give y'all a minute to kind of think. Right here for the mindfulness, for the space, for yourself, for a child. All right. Well, with that kind of, as we bring in this theme of Shalom Bayit, peace in the home, it's not just about, creating peace in the home that is what's under our physical roof, but I think peace in the home and what is our body. So we're super excited to have Laura, one of our PJ parent leaders for this event, introducing our guest, Jillian.
Hey guys, I'm so excited everybody's here. So just a quick note, when we all met and we thought about like what do parents need right now? What do families need right now? I think the first thing that popped in our head was just like the ability to sometimes have a better ability to manage ourselves, manage our mindset, and so that we can better manage our lives and our children, and to kind of help our children learn how to do the same thing that we're doing. And I've done some mindfulness stuff with Jillian before as a teacher, and I use it in my classroom every single day. I use it with my own child. I use it with myself. Sometimes with my husband, he hates it, but it's fine. And so she was the first person I thought of. So just a super quick introduction. Jillian, she's an amazing person and an amazing educator. But she started in Teach for America, and she's now in her 12th year teaching, and she has a sweet little boy who is 3, right? I think he's about to be 4, right, in the spring. She is Yoga Alliance certified and served on the DCPS Chancellor's cabinet advising on social emotional development, and she piloted a mindfulness curriculum in DC public schools, and I've used it. It's great. She's taught at various public and charter schools in Memphis and in DC, and she's currently a C.L.U.E teacher at Shelby County Schools at Idlewild, and she's so fun to work with. I will tell you that, guys. She serves as an education arts coordinator on the nonprofit board Off the Walls Arts Collaborative that brings arts and STEM together for Memphis youth. She lives in Midtown with her husband, who's a firefighter and a paramedic for the Memphis Fire Department. And she is a big music person. You can always catch her dancing at the Levitt Show with Oliver, her 2.5-year-old. And she likes being outdoors and hiking and biking. And this is Jillian. Hey, Jillian.
I didn't know you were going to read the whole description.
Hi. Of course I did.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for sharing your Sunday night with me. I know it's a stretch with bedtime and organizing who's going to cover dinner and all of the logistics to dedicate an hour for an evening, especially on a Sunday night when we're prepping for the week. So kudos to you all for showing up and showing up for yourselves as well. It's good to see your faces, and for the people who are not with camera on, it's totally understandable. Just do you and enjoy whatever this is. Hopefully everybody has access to a keyboard though, because I'd love to share my screen and just get a pulse on the group about what are the kind of moments and trouble spots that just recently pop into your mind about like when you're struggling to be your best self, or when you're struggling with that mindful attitude that you want to cultivate. So just take like about 2 minutes to just kind of reflect for a minute. And if you don't feel like typing, go for it and just verbally respond. And that's just fine too. I'm just going to take a couple of notes to kind of tailor the workshop to your needs. Oh, and the second question, what mindful strategies are you already using? Just so that, like, I'm not the only expert here. You all probably have some great stuff too. So if there's anything that's really working for you, I'd love to have a time to share as well. And can I just get like a 5 minutes, 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute? How much time do y'all need to reflect? Good, awesome. Just because I can't see the chat right now, so I'm sharing my screen. Great. And I will unshare. Okay. Oh, you wrote so much. This is great. I ran a workshop yesterday and it was first thing in the morning, and it was pulling teeth for the first 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden everybody woke up. Yeah, end of day, the marathon after school. Yes, I actually was reflecting on my own tricky moments. The transition from dinner to bath was mine. Organizing your thoughts. Yeah, it's like presence. Nice. While managing the constant fire drills. Yeah, absolutely. Morning time. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you're tired. Oh, I just love that, how general that is, but it's so applicable. Because when aren't we tired? Yes, and going also, I can relate to that, Rachel, about just the compartmentalizing of going from a high stress job in person that requires a lot of people bandwidth to, and social bandwidth, to going to home where you want to be your best self and you're depleted. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Julie, I hear you. So these are all real and good scenarios that it's just sometimes nice to hear what other people are struggling with, and you're like, oh yeah, me too. I do a lot of me too in the classroom, because it just kind of strikes a chord of familiarity and community building when somebody else non-verbally shares that like they're also going through that. So on Zoom, it's really nice to just be like, yeah, that's me. So well, what would a mindfulness workshop be without a little bit of a mindful moment? So let me share my screen, and I'm going to share with you a mindful moment that I like to share with my students a lot. And so with your child, it might be nice to do this as well. To be honest, I don't do a ton of mindful moments with my son right now, just because of his age. But we do incorporate a lot of breathing cueing, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Hopefully my slideshow will load. Here we go. Let's try this again. But for those of you who have a child that's like 4 or above, this might work nicely. Hey, Laura, can you tell me when you do see the share or the slideshow?
It says loading.
Yeah. I'm going to just refresh the page and we'll take it from there. But basically it's cueing what to do with your body. Our little ones always are doing a lot with their bodies. And so when you cue them with what to do with their bodies, it's putting things into the positive rather than stop doing this into this is what you should be doing. And so also modeling this is really nice too, especially for your little older ones. So it's feet on the floor, spine in a line, heart to the sky, soft gaze below. And that soft gaze below is referring to looking downward. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen so that y'all can see me because the slideshow isn't working, it's all good. So children often want to look everywhere and they have trouble closing their eyes because they're afraid they're going to miss something. So cueing them on where to look is a really good way to avoid the whole like, mommy's closing her eyes, but I'm peeking. So soft gaze below, our hands are in our lap. So they're looking down at their hands. Okay, so we're going to do it again. It's spine in a line, heart to the sky, feet on the floor, soft gaze below. And I'm going to lead you through a mindful moment where we're focusing on the senses, which is really fun with our little ones. And also sometimes it's nice to put your hand on your heart, hand on your belly. That's a nice one too. So take a deep breath in and then exhale with your shoulders coming down away from your ears. Take another deep inhale through your belly and then fill in the cracks with your chest. And then exhale, both chest and belly. Take a deep inhale to a count of 4. And then exhale, equal breath, exhale 4. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. And keep that nice equal breathing. And we're going to focus in on superhero senses. So there's obvious sounds that you're going to hear, like your kid running around or cars passing by. But then with your superhero senses, tune into the secret sounds, like maybe the air conditioner, the sounds that nobody really seems to notice or we tune out. Locate exactly where they are in the house. And then turn your attention to your right big toe. What is it touching? Is it feeling squished? What's the texture below it? What is the tightest part of your clothing? And what's the loosest part? Bring your arms up above your head. And then exhale your hands down. And then with your super secret superhero sound and ability to notice touch, keep those things in mind. And then notice where you are right now. What are you sitting on? And what is your mind thinking? All right. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, open your eyes. So I would do a mindful moment with adults a little bit differently because often it's more mind-based, but with kids, often it's more sensory-based to get them back into their bodies, especially when we're cueing them on what to focus, what part of their body, because it brings them immediately back into their own bodies. Often we're a very verbal society, and so we're in our we're cerebrally thinking all the time. And it's good to just take a moment and get ourselves back into our bodies. A mindful moment is a great way to do that, and using your senses is also a great way to do that. My favorite time to do mindful moments are right before those really tricky transitions. So for everybody that said dinner time, homework time, and before bed, those are key moments where you want them to tune into you, you want them to be following directions, and you don't want them to be all scatterbrained. The best way to do that is to get them most in their executive functioning part of their brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. And the way we do that is by breathing deeply. It's literally the best cue to cue our parasympathetic nervous system, which exists and behaves best when we are deeply breathing. And so if you want your kiddos to really tune in, take a mindful breath beforehand. Okay, so you're like, well, I don't want to leave that whole mindful moment. Totally understand. And so I'm going to give you a really quick one. Okay, so this is one of my favorite ones, take 5. You always have your hand on hand, first of all, so no props needed. And second of all, there's a really clear end in sight. So with taking 5, it's literally just cueing, inhale while you go up, and you can put your hand up. I'm gonna model it for you, but if you want to kind of follow along first, that's fine. So you'll inhale on your thumb up, and then you'll exhale on the slope down. Inhale to the tip, and then exhale to the bottom. Inhale, exhale. Hopefully you're getting the point now, and then you're gonna actually do the breathing with me. Inhale, exhale, and then inhale on the pinky, and your exhale on the last one is super long because you go all the way to your elbow. And this is really helpful because the longer your exhale, the more your body gets into the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us calm down. So there is a reason for everything that we do in terms of like yogic breathing and things like that. The exhale will calm the system more. So again, when you're teaching this to your child, you would say, okay, we're going to make our finger match our breath. And so we're going to inhale the whole time, because often they'll go, and so you want to make sure it's like a nice long one. So you can have them practice even in a really silly way when like you're not trying to give directions, but like when you're just practicing it with using horse lips. So it's a really obvious way to see if they're exhaling long enough. So you'll go. And even if like that sticks, it's still a better exhale than no exhale at all. Because often when children get excited, it's all inhale. And that's how we hyperventilate. So that's taking 5. I'm gonna show it to you now with like the actual cueing of the breath, as I would do it with one of my students. Okay, so we're gonna take 5 right now, just so that we can get our mind nice and calm and our bodies, our minds back in our bodies. Here we go. We're gonna take our finger and we're going to connect our finger with our breath. So we're gonna take a deep inhale. 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 This time only through your nose. Inhale. Big inhale. And the long exhale. Notice how your body feels. Notice what you're thinking right here. There's just sometimes it's nice to ask them like, how did that feel for you? And usually they're way deeper than adults are. They're like, I feel happy in my heart. And I'm like, what? That's great. Awesome. I'm so glad that you said that. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Transitions. Okay. Take 5. I think that's good. I do want to talk a little bit about the brain and its impact on the way kids think during their time. I'm going to see if this workshop PowerPoint works. While we're waiting for this PowerPoint to fill up, I'm going to stop sharing and share just another thing that I think really works well. I had the chance to work with Waldorf schools. I forgot to put that, but like Waldorf schools are kind of like they believe that years 0 through 7 are still almost like should be womb-like, should be very calm and very comforting and supportive. And so they actually don't believe in talking to children. They sing to the kids, and bear with me. I've seen it and in action. Now, regular instruction is like spoken, but all directions are given in song. And it's not any particular tune, which I love because I can never remember lyrics or tunes. So for some reason, children are hardwired to respond better to sing-songy voice than to our adult direction giving. And so I have started using this with my toddler, and it works. It works really well for me. I can't say for every child, but there is a call and response intuitiveness that works really well for kids. And so if you even use like This Old Man tune or any tune that you're familiar with, actually, I want you to think of something that you're really familiar with. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, The Mulberry Bush, Jack and Jill, whatever thing that you know really well. If you apply what you want your child to do with the lyric, with the tune that you're hoping for, it works really well. And sometimes I don't even use a tune, it's just a sing-songy voice. So let me give you an example. My son the other day was not getting out of the high chair, and I'm not going about to be like pulling him out of the high chair today. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. So it's always right before bath. That's our tricky time. That's what I wrote down during tricky moments. And so I said to myself, I'm like, okay, all right, try something else. And I said, it's bath time. We're going to bath. It's bath time. We're going to bath. And he was like, yeah, climbing down, climbing down, climbing down. All I wanted to do was to give the directions, and as long as your directions are precise of like what you want the child to be doing, often they'll fall in line to what they're hearing. It's kind of like a trance-like thing that happens. I know it sounds weird, but I've been doing it and it works really well. And this is what the Waldorf education does through their entire kindergarten through 3rd grade classroom. When they go through transitions, getting ready to lunch, getting ready to lunch, washing our hands, washing our hands. And these children just get up and they start washing their hands. And I'm like, this is beautiful. Okay, so I think I always like to review. A couple of things that I've said so far are cueing breath before a transition. Take 5 if you really want to get like kind of like to do a reset with your body before a transition. And then during transitions, using a sing-songy or tune-like thing for the directions that you want to give. In order to give directions that you want to give, you need to know what you want your child to do. And so when I find that I'm struggling the most with my child, it's because I don't actually know what I want my child to do. I know I want him to stop, but I don't know what I want him to do. And so when I think to myself, what is my ideal for this situation right now? Let's say they're like walking around the car and, you know, it's in the parking lot and it's really busy. And all I can think of is this isn't safe. Just put your hand on the brake light, put your hand on the red. That's what I said to my kid. Put your hand on the red. That is telling them what to do. And then that was one of the ways that I was able to kind of like envision what I wanted rather than what I didn't want. So those are the things that we've gone over so far. Give me thumbs up if this is resonating, and type in the chat if there's anything that you're like, yeah, but because I always want to address anything that's like kind of like lurking and lingering. Any questions so far? Okay, thumbs up. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. Good. 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 Just want to make sure that we're like all on the same page. Awesome. Beautiful, Larissa. I'm glad to hear that singing is good. Yeah. Yeah. And using the cleanup song. Oh yeah. So transitions always, Laura Willens. Oh my gosh. Transitions and using a song to get them there is absolutely so helpful. Kids thrive off of routine. We know that. So let's see here. Songs. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with kiddos is let's see if this share screen works. I want to talk about the brain and just what's happening in their brain when they're in crisis mode. Because if you have a child that has temper tantrums or really struggles to keep their cool, and showing me too, that is one of the things where we need to know what's going on in their brain in order to know how to engage with that behavior. So I don't think my slideshow's gonna work, and that's okay. So I'm gonna just teach it to you the way that I teach it with my students. So especially for people who are like from the 6-year-old to the 10-year-old range, this is going to work really well for you. Understanding the brain is one of my favorite things to do with kiddos, because once they understand that their behavior isn't them, it's actually just neural pathways or habits that we've created that we can change. They feel a lightness that it's not them that's bad, it's just the behaviors, and we can change those. It's growth mindset, the same thing as growth mindset. So I always talk to my kids about the brain, and the best way you can do this that's like really easy to understand is using your hand again. Big fan of no props. So if you put your thumb in here like this, I always call this the caveman brain. This is fight or flight, the amygdala. With my little ones, I say caveman brain. You're either deciding to fight the saber-toothed tiger, or you're deciding to, run away. And this is the oldest part of our brain, and it's for survival. It's not the part of us that's the best version of ourselves. The best version of ourselves covers the amygdala. It's the prefrontal cortex right at the front. And so when we flip our lid, which exposes and uses the amygdala, unfortunately, we're making really bad choices because it's not the best part of our brain. So what we need to do to use the best part of our brain and to make the best decisions so that we're the best version of ourselves is to breathe deeply and to stop before we do. And that is the hardest thing to do as adults, let alone for children. But if we cue a deep breath before I make a decision, if we cue a deep breath before I saw Abby took a nice deep breath. If we cue a deep breath before we say something, we are going to be using our prefrontal cortex or our best versions of ourselves. If you picture the iPhone, this is like the most updated version. This is like a clamshell phone. And so we want to be making our best decisions here. And so that helps frame for kiddos why it's so important to take those breaths. And so you can say, all right, let's get connected to our bodies and let's become the best version of ourselves by taking a deep breath. And it's amazing what a breath does. So as adults, how can we remember to do all this? It's a lot, right? Have you ever heard of the Mindful Bell app? Mindful Bell app, anybody? Yeah, I know Laura has. And I actually have a website. I'm just going to give up on my PowerPoint altogether, and I'm just going to give you all the link to this. So yeah, before I give you the link, I'm just going to share with you what the website looks like. So I built a website. Actually, I built a couple during the pandemic because so many people were asking for mindfulness resources. So Mindful Bell is literally just a way to remind yourself to breathe. And it sounds silly because we breathe all day, but like mindfully breathe to come back into our bodies. And so there's a link to that. in my Mindful Classroom website. So I'm going to drop this link right now into the chat, and y'all can peruse with me. Dropping into the chat right now, everyone in meeting. Okay, so if you'll navigate to the website or just follow along with me on the website, that's just fine too. I'm going to share a couple of things that have really been helpful for me as a teacher and also as a mom. So the Mindful Bell app is on my browser. I also have one on my phone too. So for parents, it's really nice to have that to remind ourselves, and you can set it for certain times. You know, those really trouble times like 3:30 to 7 p.m. Yeah, that's like when I use this the most. So in my extension, you can see that my Mindful Bell will go off in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. The most important thing about this is to just be consistent, because if you talk through or like keep on doing what you're doing through the bell, your child will not mimic what you're doing. But if you stop and you put your hand on your heart, hand on your belly, and you take a deep inhale with a nice light sound of the bell, and then a nice exhale with the deeper tone, you're going to find that your day becomes a little bit more manageable. I say this because I've been using this app for 2 years now in my classroom, and I literally, whatever I'm doing, I stop what I'm doing, and my students do too. And I guarantee you, I'm a better version of myself by the end of that breath. And it sounds silly, it looks silly, but it's so worth it. And so if you get anything out of today's little meeting, I would say download the Mindful Bell app and just try it out, and put it to like every half hour or something. I have it set for every 15 minutes, but that's because in my classroom that really works well with the flow. Okay, so let me just give you a little tour of the website. If you don't already have a calming corner in your house, it's really nice to create that with your child. And mamas also need a calming corner and things, and like some inspirational quotes and stuff. But for children, it's really nice to have like, my favorite thing to use is a let's see here, where is it? I want to make sure you all can see it. Noise canceling headphones is one nice thing. If you have siblings and they're bothering each other, you can have them go to the calming corner and kind of tune out. The meditation board is this really cool board that you paint with water. So hey, there's no paint going everywhere. It's just water, and it creates a picture, and then encourage them to blow on the picture. And as the picture evaporates, it's encouraging exhaling. And again, exhaling brings them back to the parasympathetic nervous system. My students love this, and I've recently introduced my child to this. He is obsessed with it. He loves it, and it really forces him to breathe. So I'm a really big fan of it, and it's one of the best things I've bought on Amazon yet. Sand timers or liquid timers are really nice. My toddler right now, he's 2.5, and if things get too excitable, we have 2 code words. We say walk away, and it's just, we're taking a break. And so he goes to his little mindfulness corner, and I go to my spot, and I have modeled going to my corner also when I'm feeling upset. And it's really helped our relationship so that I respect his walkaways and he respects mine. So that's a really enjoyable thing that we've cultivated, and I use that in my classroom as well. When we're feeling, and this is having to do with the brain, but like when we're feeling like we're in crisis or with thinking with the amygdala, we're not our best selves. So there's no point in trying to have a conversation. Let's breathe, get back to here, and then we can have the debrief conversation of what we want to see. Speaking of that, I know I'm talking so much, and please stop me if there's like questions or anything that you have here. But this is like my clipboard guide that I've developed over the years of what to say and what to do with students who are in crisis. Crisis meaning that like they're breathing heavily, they're screaming, they're crying, they're wailing. And so they're thinking with the amygdala part of their brain. And so I have a what to do and a what to say. This is for your first year teachers, but I find myself using this as a parent more often than not. The what to say is just describing literally what you're seeing. Like, I see your shoulders are up by your ears. I see your hands are in fists. Just telling them without like showing them a mirror what they're doing with their bodies, because a lot of times kids don't know what they're doing with their bodies and how angry they look. And so, and then just saying like, you're safe with me. I'm here to help you through this. If they're not flailing their bodies and they're just like crying hysterically, having a hand on their back and a hand on their chest. So it's like a feeling of compression can be a very calming cue for kids. And so tell them to breathe into your hand. So for them to feel their breath going up and down. So like in their emotional state, if they're crying, that's a really good thing to do. But also that's a really nice thing to do even when they're like just really hyper, so that they feel how much their chest is going up and down because they're breathing so hard, and to regulate themselves. We're teaching them self-regulation. And then this is the consequence. So if they do something bad or something that is undesired behavior, then going over like what you hope to see and what you choose to do next time. And so it's literally my cheater's guide that I use all the time. And now I've kind of got the dialogue in my mouth and in my brain. But first year teachers are using this now. It's based off of responsive classroom and also loving logic. And it's got smatterings of peace of mind as well. So I just want to give tips of the hat to the places where I got it from, and adverse childhood experience workshops. So let's see here. I feel like I'm jumping around, but that's because I don't have my PowerPoint. I'm sorry. Okay. Anything else on here that I feel like would be super helpful? All right, before bedtime, I noticed somebody mentioned that. Oh yeah, that's Laura. Okay, so if you type in Google like breathing buddies, it'll probably come up with a little video. But my favorite thing to do to cue breathing right before bed, so that they're really noticing their breath. Kids usually don't know what their breath is doing, because it's actually a skill that you have to acquire and work on. So you have them laying down, and this is awkward, but like I want to do it. Okay, you have them laying down, and you would have them put a stuffed animal. Have them put their favorite stuffed animal on their belly. And what you're going to have them do with their little pillow, this is awkward because I'm on a yoga ball, but you're going to have them watch their little buddy go up and down, and you're helping the buddy breathe. And so their little rabbit or their little whatever lovey they've got, the way you would frame it is this. This is how you would set it up. Okay, so we're getting ready for time, or if we're trying to use our sing-songy voice, time for bed, time for bed. Let's all lay down. It's time for bed. Grab your friend. Let's lay down. And then have your little buddy on your belly, and you're going to help your friend breathe. Okay, so you want them to go up when you inhale and down when you exhale. And the more they go up and the more they go down, the better they're going to sleep. And I know this is for like the littler ones, but it's very sweet, and it really helps them see their breathing. And once they make that connection with their belly breath, that the deeper the inhale, the more it goes up, and the deeper the exhale, the more it goes down. They don't realize it, but like that is the best way to, again, cue the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to allow them rest and restoration. So that one has really helped me with that bedtime. And it's usually right before we go to sleep. So we'll say something we're thankful for, and then they're already laying down, and then we'll do the buddy breathing. And he puts his little raccoon on his belly, and we do a couple of the buddy breathing. I'm like, wow, Raccoon's really going high today. He's going so low. And then he is given something to do when I leave the room. So again, knowing what you want them to do and then saying it, this is like a more implicit way of getting them to do it, like to stay still, because they don't want their friend to fall down because they're trying to help them sleep. So that's a really sweet way. All right, so I feel like I've talked a ton, and I just want to make sure that this is a little more interactive. So right now, I'd love for you to type one thing that has struck a chord with you, that you feel like is helpful, and then one thing that you're still wondering about. Just posting that in the chat. Burst of anger or no makes them flip out. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Jen, Mel, and Liz. Hi. So they're just reacting in the way that their tiny little human brains have developed so far. And so when you give a no, a hard no, let's say like you can't ride the escalator, they're going to react, and let them react that way. Cue a deep breath. If they're not ready to take a deep breath, like it is what it is, try to do something with their body. Like, okay, we're going to take 3 hops. 1, 2, 3. Just like allow their body to do something and then say what you want them to say. So let me give you an example. No, you can't ride the escalator. What? All right, just let's do 2 hops. 1, 2. You can say, maybe next time. Say it, maybe next time. Give them the language that you want to hear, because they don't know what you want to hear. And when they put it into their mouths, it gives them a little bit of autonomy and a little bit of feeling of like independence. It's been a really helpful thing, especially when they don't know how to react to the disappointment. And so it's one of those things where if you give a hard no on something and they get their reaction, then after they have their reaction, give them the words of what you want to hear. Maybe next time is always a really nice go-to, I'm trying to think of a different example. Does everybody have an example where they're like, this just happened to me? Where like the reaction was not what you wanted?
I was gonna say, in my house, and I was like typing, hey, it's Laura. Oh, my video's on, never mind. Okay. In our house, one of our biggest problems is like the screaming and the yelling. And literally, like you just said, there's this podcast I listened to, and she described it as basically what you're saying is like, it's a reaction to some stimulus around you, and kids really can't process it. So anytime in my house, like there's a kid, like he like one Lego, he can't find one Lego, just one small little Lego. And it's like the whole world came to an end. I'm like, let's calm down. But in my house, sometimes it's when the big one starts screaming, then because he's angry about something, then the little one starts screaming because she's mimicking the big one's behavior. And then the dogs start barking, and it's like this whole chaotic thing that it just takes time. That's kind of like, that's really like my situation, but it relates to kind of what you're saying. It's just that emotional outburst of like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had the experience of 2 children yet, full disclosure. So many kudos to all of the multi-child parents and also multi-pets. Oh my goodness, I see 3 for the Mogies. That's awesome. That's almost where I'm like, go to your corners. Like it's like, okay, where can I separate so that everybody can self-regulate. If it's your oldest, I would definitely encourage them to use their space. But if you're on a car ride, like, you can't do that. And so after they say their big no, you say, okay, all right, so Max, here's what you can say. Repeat after me. And just give him those words. And then you could even have him say it a couple of times, like even sing it, or if they need to do that shouting thing, you could say, like, all right, we're going to say it at the top of our lungs. Okay, now we're going to say it real quiet. And so if you allow them to like use that energy towards what you want and then rein it back in, I've seen that work with a couple of like my students who crisis a lot. It's like, okay, we're going to squeeze our hands and we're going to say this really loud. I will try next time. Okay, now we're going to say it at half that volume. I will try next time. And bring it down. And you can bring the whole dog and baby in chorus if you want. It can be a whole group chorus. There is power in singing. That's why religion has so much singing and call and response, is because it brings us back to our core. And so if there's a way to call and response it, bring that into it. I hope that helped a little bit. I do not have all the answers. So let me see, anything else on here? Great, I'm glad that the bell of mindfulness clicked for some people. Yes, singing is powerful. In the great words of Elk, singing is just moving your voice up and down. I love singing. And let's see here, recommend corners for kids and adults be kind of public so they can see what you're doing. Honestly, I have the common corner in his room, and mine is in my closet. Because that's the space that I have. So he's seen me use mine, and I can still see when he's using his, because it's like at a visible place, and I leave the door open. The thing I don't like about sharing calming corners is everybody has a different thing that works for them. And in my classroom, obviously we share a calming corner, but like in your house, you do have the luxury of knowing your child. Do they really respond well to something called, like essential oils, or like sensory things, like smell things, or are they really tactile? Play-Doh, the Buddha board for the kids that like really like to see things, the visual timer for kids that are like needing to just like focus their eyes, and the wiggle seats for kids that need to continue wiggling. All of those things they're different jams for different kiddos. And so it's really fun to go shopping for your calming corner, and it makes them excited about it, and have them use it when they're happy. So like when you first get it, you're like, okay, so we're going to use this like when we need it, but also I want you to explore those things right now so that you feel really comfortable about it. I have a timer in my classroom. At home, I don't, because I love it when he uses the calming corner. So I let him go to it and enjoy it until he's ready. And we have that expectation of like, when you're ready, you can push in your chair and then come on back. And he does that. Okay. 5 more minutes. Any other burning questions with our last 5 minutes? Anything that you're like, this that you didn't touch on? Okay, I'm gonna put my website in there once more. I think, actually that was a direct message, sorry. Miriam, you got it. Okay, so the website has 2 pages. One of them is like for the mindfulness corner, and also at the bottom are all of my PowerPoints for classroom type stuff. But the setting up the calming corner one is really helpful. So just on how to frame it with your kiddos. So you might want to read through that. And Laura Williams, I love your toolbox. Oh my gosh, these sound like so much fun. Kinetic sand is so cool. All right. Once the crisis moment is over. Beautiful. Younger son can't talk about it afterwards. A lot of time he even says he doesn't remember. Yeah. Every kid processes differently. And if they're in crisis mode, sorry, I'm talking to Rachel Mogi. If they're in crisis mode when they did the misbehavior and then it escalates from there, it actually is scientifically proven that those neural pathways sometimes can get in the way of memory forming. And so it's sometimes important for the parent to just say, here is what I saw, and just keep it super objective, but like, here is what I saw happened, and not ask them to like replay it, because also their version might be different than what you saw. And so if they don't feel comfortable sharing their version, just give what you saw, and then the effect that it has on whoever or whatever. And you can see some examples of that in my website on teacher language self-regulation at the very bottom. So hopefully that will be a little bit helpful for you. Okay. What if they argue back and then the situation continues to escalate? Then they are still in the amygdala mode, and it's not worth it talking to them. Give them the space to get back to breathing regularly. We have that rule, the husband and I, like if we are feeling still like super spiny, we will not interact until like both of us are in like a steady breathing state. And so again, the walk away is my toddler version, but like I need space is my like 5th grade version, and even my adult version, I'm like, I need some space. So allowing them to have that also allows them to approach you often, and that's a really powerful moment, because that's key to starting self-regulation, is when they're like, okay, I'm ready to talk about this. If they go into the kitchen and start perusing the fridge without talking to you, then you're going to say, hey, are you ready? I'm checking in with you right now. Are you ready to talk about this, for your older one? Yeah. Does that sound like possible, in the realm of possibility? Great. All right. So Miriam, I know that we're at the 5-minute warning. I don't know if you had any closing remarks that you wanted to do, or if we wanted to go straight to 8:30.
So quick thing, first off, thank you so much, Jillian, for all of that amazing information. One more thing, I saw Abby had a question earlier, is the calm down room, calm space mindfulness corner, is that an alternative to what would be a timeout?
Yes. Yeah. The calming corner, that is a great question. The calming corner is not punitive. In fact, we want to encourage them to use it as a predecessor to or like preventative for misbehavior. And so a timeout spot, it should be public, and it should be like where you can keep an eye on them, and also very much like when they're ready to come back, let them come back, even if it's like before the time limit. That's like what I've read anyway. But for the calming corner, that is a non-punitive. That's like them checking themselves, or you saying like, hey, like, let's take a little bit of space here. Do you want to use the calming corner? And see, like, just prompt them gently, and then see if they're going to go there, because that's where they're going to get back to the prefrontal cortex, which is their best versions of themselves.
Awesome. Thank you for the clarification. One other thing is, will you be, one of the parents asked, will you be able to share the PowerPoint, or is the PowerPoint on your website, or do you like, what's the preference, just to share the website and we'll find most of the information there?
Yeah, I would say everything that is in my PowerPoint is in the website. It's just a little bit more like stacked, but I would prefer to share the website. Yeah. And I do have printouts on the self-regulation page. One thing I didn't talk about that I love is the feeling wheel on the bottom left. Let me just share my screen real quick, because a lot of times kiddos just feel very empowered by being able to talk about what specific emotion they're feeling. And so we just, like as a toddler, sad, mad, scared, joyful, powerful and peaceful are good enough. But then when they get into like 3rd grade, you're going to want to elaborate so that we can be more precise with our language about what we're feeling. And then when we get into the older grades, like our middle school, high school, having this language really empowers kids to start to analyze their feelings and to really pinpoint what exactly is going on for them, and like at what moment where they started to feel overwhelmed or embarrassed. There's, like scared is a far cry from inadequate and insignificant. So these are really powerful words that you can put into their mouths and put into their psyche as they grow older. And then this is really nice if you're just having one of those struggle bus days. I have this actually in my calming corner, and it's just positive thoughts and affirmations. And there's something to saying positive things about yourself. My possibilities are endless. I'm prepared to succeed. I'm beautiful inside and out. It just feels really good. And so those are printouts that one of them was from a workshop I went to that I scanned in, and one of them is a Teachers Pay Teachers. And so I feel really bad about that, but I think this exists in many different places too. So yeah, just full disclosure about that. Anything else?
Awesome. I think that's about it. Again, thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Wendy. Also, so you mentioned Take 5. All the parents got this visual that Wendy made. Yep. Also, we made a grounding stone too. So everyone and their kids got a little grounding stone to help if you want to like put this in your calming corner, or your kid, or like whatever it is, just another center component. But yeah, thank you so much. If you're on this call, if you have any feedback on how this was, if you want to do a part 2, anything, please feel free to email that to me. We really appreciate all of you being here, and have a wonderful week. Y'all got this. Enjoy the cooler weather and have a great night.
Thank you, Jillian.